folks. Hope you've been doing good pretty well. I'm Wyatt, we call conservative. I'm here with Ian Henderson here, who's the former director of outreach for the Millennial Review and does some freelance political writing on the side. How you doing today, Ian?
I'm doing fine. There's a lot going on in the world and in the good old U.S. of A., and we've got a lot to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about. We got too much for the amount of video that we're allowing. So we're just going to talk about a few issues today. Ian's a great guy, smart guy. Love his discussions. I'm going to want to do these little segments more with Ian, and hopefully that'll grow into something much more fruitful than this right now. But let's get on it, man. What do we want to talk about first?
Well, just a few minutes ago, we were watching a video of Kamala Harris, the great senator from the state of California.
You love that she's a senator. Isn't that just great?
It just makes me sick to my stomach every single day.
Yeah. That's because you're a racist white privilege.
Oh, so clearly, yeah.
You got to pull out your privilege card.
Yeah.
Check it.
Yeah, so she was on the Ellen DeGeneres show. We all know how conservative Ellen DeGeneres is.
Oh, yeah.
And Ellen was asking her a multitude of questions about, who's your favorite celebrity crush, and all these, pointless questions.
Which I made the point. You'll never hear that from a conservative. You'll never see a liberal talk show host get a conservative to look like they're real, like they're an actual person, because they are, or like they're moral.
They're not going to bring them on the show most of the time.
I mean, Jimmy Fallon talked crap for that during the election cycle when he had Trump on.
Yeah, he had Trump on the show. Yeah, that was a rarity. So
yeah, exactly.
She asked him if you had to be stuck in an elevator with either Trump, Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would you pick? And she made the joke saying, does someone have to come out alive? Meaning, alluding to the fact that she would have to kill them.
Right, which wouldn't happen in the first place.
Yeah, but the point is, it's like, it's almost like, and other celebrities, she's a sitting senator.
Yeah,
so celebrities have...
The amount of vitriol she has for
the current president. Yeah, I mean, there have been, the funny thing is, there have been celebrities after figureheads, after talk show hosts that have joked about killing Trump.
Yeah, that's funny.
And it's like, if anyone ever said that about Obama, there would be just an uproar in the media. And it's just okay to just wantonly joke about killing the president.
Right. I despise them all. I despise them. I wanted to, jump out a window every day that he just spoke about something, about any lie that you want to pull out of the book, or any sort of, Obamacare, anything like that. Any of his over 12 scandals, over his scandal-ridden presidency. But I never wanted him to get assassinated. I never wanted to kill him. I never joked about killing him.
No.
And definitely, if you would have seen this, if this would have happened with a conservative, with Obama, Valerie Jarrett, or I don't know, Hillary Clinton in an elevator, which one do I have to come out? What am I coming out alive? Are you joking? You know how far the left would have gone with their inciting violence against them?
Oh yeah,
it's a joke
all the time.
It's hysterical.
Yeah, but that's apparently the media's left, and they are completely biased. So of course they're going to let that one slide. That's not even going to hit the headlines. The only news publication that I saw cover that was Breitbart. I think maybe Daily Wire might have covered it, but
I checked. Yeah,
I don't even know. But anyway, it's going to be forgotten tomorrow. So, but that just goes to show that the left-wing media, left-wing talk shows just they'll say these ridiculously radical things, and people will just laugh. It's so funny!
Well, and here's where before we really get into the main parts of our discussion here, the funny part is that, going back to the double standard, is that, you'll see the left, played off as a joke. Oh, that's funny, this is being funny, whatever else. But then anytime you see someone on the right want to make a joke of it, it's hysterical, as in they're inciting something, or this is bigoted, or this is hateful, it's because they're black, or whatever the race they are, or it's whatever sort of asterisk they can put onto them that makes them look like they're hateful or bigoted or something like that. That's always what the left does, and that is
time and time again
absolutely bigotry for themselves. So let's move in. Let's move into some points we got.
Yeah.
Let's bring it up. I'll let you start it out.
All right. Well, I think we were talking a little bit about the omnibus bill that was passed later last month. I know a lot of people on the conservative side of the aisle were extremely angry at, not at President Trump and at the congressional Republicans for agreeing to sign such a bill that had so much pork in the bill.
Now, what was your personal opinion on it?
I mean, of course, I didn't like the bill. It had so many portions of the bill that included immense funding for sanctuary cities, Planned Parenthood. There was a part that stipulated that the border wall or portions of the border wall couldn't be built.
It didn't get full funding.
Didn't get full funding, and a lot of a huge, just gross overspending of various different social welfare programs
in there, whatever else.
And obviously, I am angry that this passed. However, I do believe that President Trump was given a little bit too much flack for this, and I'll explain. The omnibus bill itself was, I believe, over 30. There's like 3,200 pages. So many of these bills are, because there's just rider after rider after rider after
rider.
Which
should only be 3 pages. Maybe single space on a good day.
Yeah. And nobody in Congress sat and read that whole thing. Different different congressmen and different senators would put their part in and just keep inserting their portions of the omnibus bill in there, and then they just have the big thing and they throw it on the president's desk.
Here's $1 billion more. Here's $10 billion more. Here's the
So 2 days before the deadline, before this thing had to be passed, before we went before we went into another government shutdown,
which who cares?
There was, they gave this to Trump 2 days before that. The thing's 3,200 pages long.
Right.
Trump knew that there was portions of the omnibus bill that he didn't want, and his constituents, the American people, don't want. But many Republicans were pushing him, pressuring him, and as were his aides, saying that there would be negative ramifications. On top of that, a huge portion of that bill had the military spending that he was desiring, and he bit the bullet. He said, "I hate the fact that this had been pushed through." And
now, does he have any tweets or statements that that support that he's had to bite the bullet?
He made a public statement about it, saying that I hate that and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he's saying I hate what's in this bill. It's a terrible bill. I have to sign it though to fund the military.
And he celebrated that.
And I'm never going to sign it again. So I think he obviously was bitter about it, but he tried to make the best of it.
Right.
And obviously I'm not happy. Most conservatives aren't happy. But this isn't the first time that a conservative president or a Republican president has had to sign something that they disagreed with. You look at the gun laws that Ronald Reagan signed into law.
Right.
That was him, taking one for the team in order to make amends with the Democratic Party. You pass something for me, I pass something for you.
Which never works out in your favor. Dealing with the Democratic Party is like dealing with the devil. Yeah. I'm not saying all Democrats in Congress are the devil or whatever, but
there's a handful of good Democrats, not very many, but there's a few good ones.
We'll leave that. We'll leave that right there where that is. But even Reagan got screwed with immigration, for example. Reagan wanted to come with immigration, the Democrats swept under his feet, and he got screwed for it. He got the blame for it.
Exactly, and I think this is just another example of that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Trump makes slip-ups. I generally am, I generally support President Trump in most of his policy decisions. There are a few times here and there that I say, what are you doing, man? Come on. But generally speaking, I do support him, and I think that he was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place in this particular position. Could he have done better? Yes. Could he have used the bully pulpit to try to bring this back and have the Republicans pass something that was far more amiable for the American people and something that was far more affordable and not just the insane spending?
Right.
Yes. But he didn't, and I think it's bad. It's going to add more to our debt, but we'll get through this.
See, and as someone who's before we wrap this up and segue to something else, as a self-proclaimed constitutional conservative, I was displeased with the bill. I mean, I like the military spending part of it, of course, but I was displeased with the bill, displeased with the overspending that we've been doing for so long, for decades now. Just the decadal overspending time and time again. And I really wish he had vetoed it, in my honest opinion. I wish he had vetoed it, because with Trump right now, like we did with the Democrats, it's basically beat him to a pulp and him to DACA and everything else, which is on its last leg. I think he should have done it to the Republicans as well, because the Democrats are not going to work with Trump, which means he has to go further right. He has to go more conservative, which I agree with. in doing so, he also needs to make sure that the GOP is in check as well.
Yeah.
The GOP have been spying this for years. You know, they had so many rhetorical statements when Obama was in office, and then watch, they get into office, and now they
don't pass anything.
They claim we don't repeal Obamacare. Now John McCain is, he doesn't repeal Obamacare now because it's it's not sensitive to people and whatever else. When
even though he rallied against that, when Obama was in the White House. So
yeah, it's Trump's not the most conservative guy. Of course, he's not. Not at all. He's not a conservative. But if he's going to go more conservative, then he needs to keep that line, in my opinion, and need to veto bills that are just going to blow out the spending even more.
Fair enough.
So let's move on to border security. So we kind of touched upon that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was looking today, and let me pull this up real quick off my handy, I don't know, brick of a phone. I don't know, iPhone thing. I don't know, whatever these things are called. Let me read the headline here. Okay, so Pentagon stands up border security cell to implement Trump's National Guard plan. The Pentagon announced on Thursday it was standing up a new cell, so a new unit per se,
organized unit,
to support President Trump's activation of National Guard troops along the U.S. border with Mexico. Now, Trump a couple days ago, was it yesterday or the day before?
I want to say it was yesterday. I want to say it was yesterday.
Yeah, so he announced in a meeting that until the wall was going to be built, he was going to activate the National Guard to implement border security until wall building had commenced and until it had been completed.
Which I fully support.
Yes, absolutely.
I've been supporting that for years.
And this is something that goes into play with, it kind of partially ties into the omnibus bill, I think. Utilizing military spending to build the wall, which it could be justified for national security purposes.
Which I believe was it Jeff Sessions? I'm trying to remember who exactly of his party or even of his administration. I believe it was Mattis. Actually, I think it was Mattis.
It was Mattis
who justified building a wall. Building a wall is part of national security.
Exactly.
And so that's which if he were to do that, then you can get away with the worry of the
spending,
the bill not being. Now I think there's too much spending. In general,
but
of course. Yeah. But with the military spending, you can see that's even, that's a 2-in-1 when it comes to military spending. Okay, well, you're not going to give us money specifically for the wall when I was going to claim a national security issue, which it is, and just give it the money anyways.
Now, many people that may be watching that are sympathetic towards Dreamers or DACA, I prefer to use the legal term to describe them, illegal aliens, because that is the legal term to describe people that have...
It's triggered a bunch of people right now. Hold on.
It's the legal term to describe it. Anyways, now that's not the justification for the utilization of military.
And you're not dehumanizing them by saying illegal.
Of course not. It's a legal term. It's a legal term in U.S. law to describe someone that has come to the United States without proper documentation. Now, that's not the reason why President Trump and the military could utilize the military to bivouac the border. That's a military term to quickly seal off the border and build small military fortifications along the border to prevent crossing. Now, the reason why it's not the families, it's not the people trying to escape the drug war, it is the drug cartels that justifies the military fortifications along the border.
It's the corruption of the state itself.
Well, yeah, and the one thing that I think many people are unfamiliar with is the amount of violent crime in Mexico surpasses that of Iraq and Afghanistan combined. In the year 2014, there was a PBS Frontline report that had the total numbers of deaths in Mexico from 2007 to 2014, so a 7-year period, and compared that with the deaths in Iraq and Afghanistan. So in Iraq and Afghanistan, in that 7-year time frame, there was 106,000 deaths as a result of the two wars going on there, 2007 to 2014. In that same time frame, there were 165,000 deaths in Mexico as a result of the drug war, as a result of
Mexico City is one of the deadliest cities in the world.
Absolutely. Ciudad Juarez,
as of right this second.
Yeah, Ciudad Juarez is also, I think it's called the death capital of the world. Murder capital.
Even though Britain's moving out there really quick.
Exactly. So we have to bear in mind, and a lot of American news outlets don't cover what is going on in Mexico. You actually have to read Mexican newspapers to actually know what's going on, how horribly dangerous certain areas are. You have the Los Zetas, you have the Sinaloa cartel, you have the Cartel del Golfo, you have the Guerreros Unidos cartel based in Michoacan, and they're all fighting for power amongst each other, and they're all paying off politicians, paying off military, paying off police, and it's literally a turf war with everybody involved. And it's gotten so bad along the border that certain cartels, particularly the Sinaloa and the Los Zetas, have crossed into sugarcane plantations on the U.S. side of the border and utilized the sugarcane grows very high. A lot of times those drug mules that bring in cocaine and heroin and various other drugs will utilize the height of the sugarcane in the middle of the night as cover to bring drugs into the United States.
They use various ways against
that's one way they utilize it. Now, oftentimes during crop season, during the harvesting season, those sugarcane farmers, they harvest their crops, so they cut down the sugarcane. What happens though is those drug cartel leaders, when they bring in those drugs, they will find the contact information for those farmers, those American farmers on the U.S. side of the border, and they will contact them, threaten to kill them and their family if they do not, if they harvest their crops, because they need to utilize the cover of the tall sugarcane to bring in their drugs. Now, that's an infiltration of our country by a hostile entity.
And now with the National Guard on the border, hopefully we'll see a decrease in that. I believe you will. If we actually have people on the border, especially in the gas,
absolutely,
we're going to see a decrease in that.
And one other thing I would want to touch on, it's not just the cartels. The cartels do have assistance from different groups. One of them, believe it or not, is the Shia Islamic terrorist group Hezbollah. That's right. Hezbollah is in Mexico. It sounds like something out of a freaking comic book or something
Medal
like
of Valor,
that.
I think.
No, that's actually happening. Hezbollah has cells in Mexico, and you can look it up, verify it yourself. They are working along with certain cartels along the border, particularly in the Ciudad Juarez region, and training drug cartel members on how to make improvised explosive devices, IEDs, to utilize against their opposing cartels. And in exchange, those cartels will show the Hezbollah leaders how to go into the United States.
What's crazy, too, is how many... I remember I was talking to...
This isn't talked about.
I was talking to, I believe, an officer in the Army about this a few years ago. It's crazy how many... I'm not saying there's like thousands a day or even dozens a day, or some crazy number like that, but how many terrorist attacks have been stopped on the U.S.-Mexico border. And people won't discuss that. Now I don't have the numbers in front of me. I doubt the real numbers are actually out there. But just the vulnerability that comes from that border and the amount of trouble that flows through that, drugs, cartel, even little immigrants, and the negative effect that they have on our economy.
And not only that, but I did read another article that actually, it doesn't shock me anymore. None of this shocks me anymore. But there are people smugglers bringing in Bangladeshis all the way from Bangladesh.
Trafficking. Like
human trafficking
is huge right now.
From bringing Bangladeshi nationals into Mexico and trafficking them into the United States. This is actually happening along our border.
Human trafficking is huge right now. I believe they call it it's like retail trafficking. There's some certain there's different sectors of human trafficking. Or it's like wholesale trafficking. I don't remember the exact term right now. But basically, you just buy a bunch of kids, for example, or a bunch of people for like a certain set of price. Is what it is. And the U.S.-Mexico border is horrible for that right now.
Now, another thing that the main catalyst for all of this, this justification, or the speech by Trump to bring the National Guard along the border, was the caravan of people, about 1,500 people, coming from Honduras and traveling all the way up through Central America, through Mexico, with their goal to get to the United States.
And what's ironic, too, before you go on, before I forget this point, that, as we just saw the other day, Mexico just purged, I believe, thousands of immigrants from their country themselves.
Because they have strong immigration laws.
Which doesn't really work, it seems, anyways, but for them, at least.
So, they broke apart this caravan, because that caravan of people were illegally trespassing into Mexico. Mexico has very, very stringent immigration laws.
They do.
Way more harsh than ours. If you look at the border between Guatemala and Mexico, I am not joking. There are Mexican Border Patrol agents that will actually just shoot to kill for people that are trying to cross into Mexico from the Guatemala border. This happens. It's not a joke. It's not a lie. I'm not advocating for that. I'm not advocating for our Border Patrol to do that. I don't want our Border Patrol to do that at all. At all. But I'm just saying, we have very lax border security in comparison to Mexico.
And what's funny is when to discuss that point a little more, when you see the stringent border control policies that Mexico has, you know that the American media knows that. You know that the U.S. media knows that, or if they don't, they can easily attain it. Mm-hmm. So that just means that, it's just a political stunt for them to want to have open borders, or to call conservatives bigots, or that we just somehow hate Mexicans, or that we're anti-immigration. We're not. It's so simple. I want immigrants. I don't mind immigrants that want to come here legally and become part of the American system and adopt and really assimilate. Of course I want that. If you want to create a better life for yourself. But what they want to make it sound like is we don't want anyone, especially nowadays, anyone of a certain color to come into our country. And that's just such a lie that they tell the American people, where they now believe that they basically dehumanize conservatives and make us feel like we're just imbeciles.
And this has nothing to do with what our immigration policy, what type of people we want in or whatnot. This is all about enforcing the current immigration policy.
Yeah, we're
not even enforcing our own immigration policy that we have on the books.
And Obama really screwed a lot of stuff up too,
with the whole DACA thing.
And when it came to his prerogative powers as the chief executive officer.
Every nation has borders. Every nation has an immigration policy. Every nation has citizenship, and citizenship means something. If you don't have citizenship, if citizenship doesn't mean something, then what's the point of even having a country? If people can just come into the country and receive the same or better benefits than the actual citizens of that country, why even have a country?
Right. Well, but now I think I meant to say commander-in-chief, not chief executive officer. But now we're, and not to go too far off the topic here. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to now having more benefits than our people, so now the ones who actually work and are benefit economically speaking to society, and even morally speaking to the fabric of our society, right? Because we go and work for ourselves and earn the money for ourselves and our families and everything else, which grows a great appreciation for our community and yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. Now we're being thought of as selfish for wanting to keep our own money, or at least not wanting to give money away to illegal immigrants, and especially those that don't want to work, which I know can open the door to a whole host of different discussions. Yeah. But what kind of country are we living in now, where half the country thinks it's selfish for us to not want to take the burden of illegal immigrants? Yeah.
It's interesting times we live in. That's for sure. The point is the utilization of going back to the utilization of the National Guard to enforce border security is completely constitutional. There are people out there saying, "Oh, it's unconstitutional. It's a violation of a particular clause."
But those are the same people that also support the mayor of Oakland right now. Yeah. Right, which
is protecting actual criminal
who warned illegal immigrants before ICE came in there.
And it's not even illegal immigrants that are not committing crimes within the United States. These are actual convicted criminals that have had felony convictions and misdemeanor convictions that just so happen to also be illegal aliens.
And as we can see with the Stanley case, apparently murder is legal now in California. Yeah. Especially if you're a legal immigrant. Apparently being here, breaking on laws in general, and then breaking them again and again and again and again, apparently is okay in California. Our great state allows that to happen.
But we're seeing a pushback, especially with the Orange County and the newer cities within Orange County, and now San Diego County is apparently considering suing the state of California over SB 54, which us a sanctuary state, which is in violation of the Constitution and our immigration laws.
And even as as a conservative in college, I know you passed on now, but as a conservative in college, I had professors arguing that basically it was that they were constitutional, or the California was constitutional in trying to stay a sanctuary state, and even these cities too, like San Francisco, that was constitutional. That's inherently unconstitutional. But apparently, now that the conservatives want to actually follow and abide by the Constitution.
Yeah. And there are certain things, people will make the argument, oh, this is states' rights. There are certain things that absolutely...
That's the exact argument they make, states' rights argument.
Yeah, that's the argument they always make. There are certain things that are allocated to the states that they are allowed to pursue without federal oversight. Immigration is not one of them.
And in fact, exactly. In fact, the Founding Fathers gave states more power than the federal government in the first place.
But immigration was one thing that was specifically given to the federal government to enforce.
Especially if it's a national security matter. Especially if it is. Which is why Trump totally has the right to do what he's doing right now with the border, with sending troops to the border. And which is why San Francisco, and the state of California in general, is inherently wrong in their belief that we ought to be protecting illegal immigrants. They're illegal immigrants for a reason. And then you have wacko Kamala Harris, as we were talking about earlier. She's a wacko. You want to go out and give a performance like on Ellen Show, that's great and all. And if people fall for that, then I'm sorry for you. But, I mean, just being honest here. But you have her saying that undocumented immigrants isn't illegal. You have her believing that. We have people believing that you have just the same amount of rights and privilege, so to speak, as a legal immigrant than you do as an American,
as a citizen. And here's the thing: they've even changed the verbiage of how to describe a person that doesn't have the proper documentation to live or to come to a country.
Undocumented immigrant instead of illegal alien.
It went from illegal alien, which is the proper legal term, to illegal immigrant to undocumented immigrant.
That's like, and you know what? And to go on another little tangent for a second. Yeah. That's what the left does. The left changes verbiage all the time. They change stuff like that all the time. For example, now it's not politically correct to call black people black. You have to say African American. I hate the term African American because that tears America apart just little by little, more and more. You're American. The whole point of America is an idea.
We're not a hyphenated American. We're all Americans.
And I get this is a little off topic, but if you're black, you're black. So what? If you're white, you're white. So what? Even if you come from Africa, you're straight up from Africa and come here, and you become a citizen, you're American of African descent. You're American. You're not African American.
Yeah. That's what they like to do. They like to divide and conquer. And also the using the term undocumented immigrant completely it makes the actual term immigrant, like people that are actually legally going through the immigration process, it completely insults those people.
Yeah, it spits on their face.
Those people that actually want to follow the rules, go through the process, go through the screening, wait in line like you're supposed to, like with any country, when you're immigrating to any country, you're insulting those people. You're pretty much giving the finger to those people.
An immigrant. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being an immigrant.
No,
nothing wrong at all. And it's as if the left is trying to show the right, like, oh, we're somehow against immigrants in general, like I was saying earlier, or somehow we think that immigration is wrong. No, if anything, they should be called trespassers. They're trespassing into America illegally. Is what it is. Or I guess trespassing and illegal are the same thing. It's a little redundant, but they're trespassing into America. Being an immigrant into America is great. That's fine. But it's only great if you're here legally, if you want. I mean, a house divided cannot stand, like you were basically just saying. And so right now, I mean, we're losing our culture because of it.
Absolutely.
It's what's happening. Now, I hope it's a whole other door to whole other stuff as well.
Which I don't know if we have time to get into.
We don't have time to get into that. But that's what it is. And that's what the left is trying. The left is trying to beat down Americanism by saying how American core values are inherently racist. How, to say, get a job apparently is inherently racist and is privileged. To beat down the ethic of hard work and personal responsibility and individual liberty and the right to make mistakes and the right to do well by that, to break that down and call it racist and call it whatever else, and to say that America is no better than any other culture or any other nation, that's how they're going to tear us apart. And that's what they're doing right now.
That's their whole goal. It's divide and conquer.
And
that's what they want.
And I know your boy, and I like him too, Samuel P. Huntington. He speaks all about that when it comes to Mexican immigration. Yeah. And this isn't some sort of scare tactic or hysteria or anything like that. This is what it is. I'm not saying we have to purge all these people or something like that. I'm not even necessarily calling for some sort of action right this second. Obviously, there should be some action, like border patrol, border security, and all that stuff. And immigration, stringent immigration policy, or at least enforcing immigration policy now. But we see not only the breakdown of America, but the showing of how, and American core values, but showing of how those have been evil. Those are some have been evil this whole time, and now there's just this great second enlightenment of multiculturalism, and the left wants to spearhead that. The left thinks that they're the moral arbiters of that.
Not getting any argument from me there.
And that's what it is. And I don't care if they were freaking all purple, Barney the Purple Dinosaurs. I don't care. Nobody cares about their color. Nobody cares enough in your daily life to screw someone else for their color. And if you do, you're a piece of crap. It's all about it's about culture. It's about wanting to be American and accept American values. It's not about white American values, black American values. There is no inherent color to American values. It's just American values. So are Mexican values brown? Is that not racist?
There's tons of different types of There are white Mexicans. There are
black Mexicans.
Mestizo Mexicans. There are
Does that make sense? I mean, America's an idea, but they're trying to break that idea down and now put physical characteristics that were never really there. As we saw with the Irish too, and they were hated. I can go down the line. We can go on this forever, but is there any other points that you might want to talk about real quick before
we wrap things up? Well, I guess one last thing that's kind of funny, kind of tied in with this whole immigration thing and securing the border and sanctuary state law, is apparently today the city of San Francisco is suing Attorney General Jeff Sessions over civil rights issues. And this likely ties into the whole sanctuary state thing and protecting individuals. And it's kind of funny because it's like you see all these lawsuits between the federal government, because the federal government's now suing California for violating immigration law.
Yeah, it's a lawsuit.
You have the state of California countersuing. You have Orange County and numerous cities, and then San Diego County now, presumably so soon, suing the state of California, and now you have the city of San Francisco suing Jeff Sessions. It's just like a suing war.
Yeah, no, it's like the terror with China, but except it's just suing back and forth between the U.S. government. And you'll hardly see me agree with the federal government. The federal government has the right to do this.
Yeah.
The federal government has the right to do this. And honestly, I hope it comes to the Supreme Court. I really do. Obviously, Kennedy's wishy-washy, but I think this is one thing that obviously Gorsuch was a great thing, and Hope was a great appointment. But I'm hoping that there would be another conservative judge by the time this would make it to the Supreme Court, which wouldn't be until like a year or two from now.
Well, you have to remember the Supreme Court did vote. I think it was, for the travel ban. The travel.
Yep, they said it was. They said
it included two of the liberal justices as well. I believe two. I think it was Stephen Breyer and Elena Kagan that voted in favor of the travel ban as constitutional, along with all the other the 5 conservative judges. I think the only 2 that voted against it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor.
Yeah, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg also believes that the Electoral College is crap.
Yeah.
She thinks we need an overhaul of the Constitution, and not for more conservative means.
Yeah. That's a whole other thing. But so I wouldn't. And Justice Kennedy is a bit unpredictable at times.
Yeah.
But I think it's more on social issues such as gay marriage and whatnot. I don't know if it's when it comes to immigration laws. I think he may. I mean, I could be wrong, but it seems like at least in the case of the travel ban, he was voting in favor of,
because it is by law, it is constitutional. That's what it is.
So. Yeah, I think if this does come to the Supreme Court, they will vote in favor of
the Trump administration. As they should. The Trump administration has the right to do this. This is not infringing upon states' rights. If this was not a national security issue or not a border issue, then it would be a states' rights, but it's not. It's inherent. And this is just to wrap it up, this is just one of the many problems when the federal government gets too big. Now even both parties at times can start being confused as to what the Constitution actually really permits. And most Americans would be shocked at how over the line the federal government has stepped in power, of how much of it shrank, how much power the state should actually have. People don't understand it. They don't inherently understand the Constitution.
And that's because we got rid of civics.
Well, we got we got rid of a lot of things, but that's also because the left controls or has controlled for a long time our mainstream media outlets, and also our educational outlets. I've never had one conservative teacher. I've had a libertarian one, which is very surprising, and then I had one recently who went a little more conservative, still liberal, still Democrat, but he was open. His class turned into an open forum, which is really surprising. Anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. Great talks with Ian. We always have great talks off camera too. I hope to have a segment with Ian
soon. Yeah,
I mean, hopefully
soon.
Yeah. Once a week would be great, but we live a few minutes away from each other, so it is hard at times.
Yeah.
But Ian, thank you so much for letting me into your home and letting me talk with you. We'll also do this more, of course, and we'll see if people enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll just come up with new things to talk about every day. It's always great talking about you. I always learn something, and I'm hoping that those who are watching learn something too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
It was fun. All right. Well, thank you so much, folks. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed this talk. I'll make another video soon. My name is Wyatt, and I'm the Culture Conservative.